Hey everybody, welcome back to some more early morning barking, talking about BPD and NPD by somebody that has both. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons and do all the socially things that are scrolling past on the screen right now. Okay, I'm here to talk to you about being dumped. Specifically being dumped if you've got BPD or NPD, because this can be a tricky thing to navigate, can't it? I mean, it's horrible at the best of times, but, you know, the BPD doesn't help, does it? So, when I'm talking about being dumped, it's a bit of a harsh term. It's a bit mean, actually. I mean, I could have said break up or end of a relationship or whatever. I'm talking about being dumped. That feeling when you think everything is great, but clearly the other person does not. That mismatch in how people feel about what's happening, that surprise that it gets you. Being dumped. It hurts. I mean, it hurts everybody. It's shit. It sucks. When you in love with somebody or falling in love with someone or have strong feelings developing for someone and then suddenly they turn around and you realize they don't. That's a painful thing. But the BPD can sort of bring up lots of bad feelings. And indeed, the NPD can control how we react to this news when we hear it. I guess I'll talk about the NPD stuff first, because that kind of sort of centers around the initial reactions of stuff. You see, somebody breaking up with you, somebody who doesn't love you. Now, there's a narcissistic hit, to say the least. I mean, that's the opposite of what you want as somebody with NPD, right? I mean, that just brings up so much rage and anger and frustration and entitlement. An expectation of somebody. It brings up anger. Who do you think you are breaking up with me? You can't dump me. You think you're going to do better than me? I'm the best you'll ever do. You're lucky to have had me. All of this bullshit will come out. And I've seen far worse. I mean, come on, I've seen some fucking hideous stuff said by guys who are rejected. It's unforgivably gross. And you don't want to do this. No way. The anger and entitlement and rage are not the ways to react to this news. Don't be that guy. Don't be a dick. I mean, or girl. I'm trying to keep this sort of non-specific, but let's be honest, it's men who react that way to being rejected. I've never seen messages from women saying gross things to guys on being rejected. Maybe there's one or two in the world. I don't know. I'm generalizing. Don't get on at me about this. That whole aggression, it's that hit, right? I mean, do you really need me to explain that one, where that comes from? You someone with NPD and someone has rejected you. Go figure why this hurts. Of course it does. It shakes you to your core. And depending on how it's done, or in what way, or by who, or the context, how you've built it up in your head, it could be just so much worse. And this could just knock you down flat and really sort of shatter your world for a bit. It might make the NPD come back harder, because now you've got another injury to make up for. Now you've got to convince yourself that whatever went wrong in that relationship was entirely their fault, because they're insane, because they broke up with you. And that's harder to then mask and deal with and make up bullshit about. So maybe the NPD can come back harder. And then there's any idea of sort of following it up. Don't follow this up, right? There's nothing more to be said. If someone doesn't want to be with you, they don't want to be with you, and you can't make them do that. And certainly getting angry and presenting logical arguments, or what you feel are logical arguments, are not going to do that. It doesn't happen. It's not a thing, right? There's no great love stories where someone breaks up with someone and then that person cries enough or gets angry enough and they get back together and live happily ever after. That's not in anything, because it's not really a thing. It doesn't happen. You have to let people go. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter what they've said or what their reason for not wanting to be with you is. They don't want to be with you. End of. Leave people alone. You don't need to check up on their Facebook friends list or who they're seeing now or what they're up to now or if they really meant that thing they said to you, because it doesn't matter, because they don't want to be with you. So you need to leave that person the fuck alone. Am I being clear? And this narcissistic hit that you've taken, you're going to have to take it, because that person doesn't want to be with you. I'm sorry. There are other people in the world who'll want to be with you who don't need convincing of that. And then that leads us to sort of the BPD side of things, which is altogether a lot more despairing, a lot more panicked and fearful. Because when someone doesn't want to be with you, I mean, first of all, talk about fear of abandonment, right? I mean, that is literal abandonment. That is somebody who you love telling you they don't love you and saying, bye, I'm going. That is literal abandonment. And if that comes out of nowhere, if that's just some sort of shock, then panic stations, right? Red alert. Everything's going wrong. And then the blanket of sadness descends and wraps us. And we start to despair and we start to think about, well, are we unlovable? Do we deserve love? We don't deserve love. We're just shit. We probably just hurt everybody that we're with anyway. There's a reason why no one wants to be with me. And so on and so on. And the despair spiral continues. And you start that clinging. That please come back. Please, I'm sorry. I can change. I can be whatever you want. It doesn't matter what I am. I'll do whatever you want me to do to be compatible. Just please don't leave me. And it's awful to feel, to witness, to go through. When someone's just trying to leave and you're trying to cling on in a panic, obsessively calling and following and letting that sentimentality grab hold of you, even though perhaps there's nothing to be sentimental about. And it can drag on for months and months if you let it. And to a certain extent, it's a conscious decision, right? It comes from places, all of this panic, this fear of abandonment, that we're not okay on our own. And it's okay to need people. It's okay to want to be a social creature. We are social creatures. But there are times when you've got to be able to support yourself. And I think a fear of not being able to do that is where this fear of abandonment comes from for a lot of people. Certainly it does for me. That I need some sort of support. I'm not good enough on my own. And so you've got to be getting good enough on your own. But I've talked about this before, and this sort of comes before being dumped, doesn't it? I mean, well, as they say, the best time to plant a tree is 50 years ago. The second best time is right now. So maybe it's time to start working on yourself. And realize that these are not things that somebody is doing to you. These are not things somebody is doing to harm you, to upset you. They're doing it to protect them from whatever, or to make themselves happier. They just can't be with you for whatever reason. And you just have to, again, accept that that doesn't mean that you are unlovable, that there's something wrong with you, that you can't trust people. Because we're not talking about people, we're talking about an individual in this case, aren't we? That person doesn't love you, doesn't want to be with you, whatever. Not people, just that one. And it's important to go through some self-care. to take some time to look after yourself and to get better. It can be a shock to your system. It is a shock to your system. And it can take a lot of time to get over and deal with. Because as somebody with BPD, we love very hard and very quickly, and grasp onto sentimentality very quickly. And suddenly having that pulled away can be very difficult. Short-term relationships seem to be the most painful to some degree. That build up of excitement, and then boom. It's that goal that you watch the ball go all the way down the pitch and the excitement builds, and is this going, and they strike and they miss, and that's your sort of 2-3 week relationship, isn't it? Is this one going in the net? No. That's a bad analogy to use in this particular context, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Self-care, looking after yourself, and focusing on how this isn't because of you, but you need to work on you. Don't let the sadness take over you. It's okay to feel somewhat sad. But you can see at the point it becomes a detriment to you, that it starts to drag you down way beyond where it should. And you know there are steps you can take to overcome this familiar sadness, this wallowing. Because sometimes it feels good and familiar to wallow, especially in situations like this. But you can't stay like that forever. You have to let a person leave your life if that's what they've chosen to do. And no matter how you feel or felt about that person, moaning about them for months is just going to piss everybody off and get you nowhere. And eventually you will look back on that time and think, dear God, what was I doing? Wasted time. And it is. I hope that just talking about this can be some help. Just recognizing how you feel and the things that have been triggered. And knowing how they are, maybe that can help you move a little bit closer towards healing and getting over whatever might have happened to you. Maybe you've been through it and healed and you're like, yeah, that's what it's like. That was the thing. But I feel better now. And eventually all these things feel better. And there are steps you can take that we've discussed to move closer to them. Anyway, you take care. I'll see you later. Bye.